It's 2023, and there's new games galore. Coming out unoptimized, censored, feels more like 1984. Battle passes, loot boxes, unfinished, full of bugs, priced at $70. What are they on, drugs? At least finally some GPU prices went down. So I went to the parts store, way downtown. I browsed and browsed through the shelves and I decided to get this graphics card. It's the RX 6800. Sup, it's codename Catfish, and as you can see, I am neither cat nor fish. I'm a robot, and I finally got my first AMD GPU, the Radeon RX 6800, the non-XT version. Today, we're gonna play some games on it in 4K. I can't wait, but first, we gotta look at this GPU very respectfully. Here's my 6800. This version is the Gaming Z Trio from MSI. As you can see, it's pretty beefy, kinda like my Strix 3080. This backplate is a bit plain looking. It has some vents on the side, but it's otherwise pretty covered up. In other words, this card is say-so, unlike my 1060. How lewd! I think it's made of some kind of plastic carbon. It seems sturdy when you push down on it. It's got 3 fans to help keep it cool. I guess that's where the trio part of its name comes in. It has an RGB strip front and center on the backplate, and the logo has RGB. There's also these RGB accents on the fan side. The silver color on the cooler's cool. It has 2 8-pin ports for power, and for the I/O, it has 3 DisplayPort 1.4s and 1 HDMI 2.1 port. Standard, but I won't complain. It may not look as cool as my 3080 Strix, but I still think it looks pretty nice. The 6800 seems quite interesting. If you compare it to another modern high-end card like the RTX 3080, it's got considerably less shaders, less bus width, and some other stats, but it does have more VRAM, which will be especially helpful for 4K performance in newer games. It's also got a total power draw of 250 watts, so it has considerably less TDP than the 3080. Intriguing. Let's go over the computer specs we'll be using. Yep, it's my Sonic computer again, with a few upgrades. I installed a new contact frame on the CPU and retightened the bracket screws into the MOBO. The CPU shouldn't be overheating this time. I also got new case fans for it and the AIO. 6 Corsair LL120s. The old fans didn't have rubber feet. I ended up changing out the 1TB M.2, but I also got this 4TB M.2, so now it has more storage. Awesome! So it of course has the Sonic motherboard, the Z790PG Sonic. The CPU is the i5-13600K. I don't know if it's great for 4K gaming, but we're gonna try it out. The AIO is the iQOO H100i Elite. I put Sonic on the screen. The RAM is 32GB of DDR5 at 6400 MHz. The GPU is the RX 6800. It's a big card, but it doesn't look as flashy as my RK770, huh? The case is the Meshify 2 Compact. I still really like this case, and it's all powered by a 750 watt power supply. So that's my Sonic computer's current specs. Yep, it's way past cool. So let me go over how I'll set this up. The CPU and GPU will be using their out-of-the-box clock speeds. And of course, the RAM will be using the full 6400 MHz. This will be the GPU driver we'll be using. I'll uncap the frame rate, although some games I'll be playing at frame rate caps of their own. Just keep that in mind. With all that out of the way, it's time to play. Summer is here, so we're starting with Senran Kagura, Peach Beach Splash. There's barely any graphic settings here, and the game caps at 60. We'll play with high settings. I guess we're gonna do some round of V-Road Challenge. This should be fun. So far, the game is running at 60 sharp. We gotta shake to reload. Shake, shake, shake. These girls are sure being rambunctious. They've even ruined our perfect frame rate, and that's not cool at all. Not one bit. You've made a big mistake ruining the frame rate. So the minimum and percent lows went down. So what? We're still 2 points ahead of them. You're next. This game doesn't really use much resources, huh? It seems pretty easy to run. check out the wattage consumption. That's quite low when you compare it to my RTX 3080. Kinda makes it look like a real power hog, doesn't it? For 4K, this GPU seems quite power efficient. I think that's pretty sweet. Maybe one day, I'll try running this on my 1060 in 4K. Maybe even try it on my Steam Deck in 4K. So yeah, the game runs just fine. Ah, jerk! Oh yeah, she's not getting away with that. Well, I lost because of cute and funny. So what if we play a Sonic game on my Sonic computer? Crazy, right? Sonic Frontiers is another game that caps at 60 frames, but regardless, we'll play on high settings. So we're zipping around Chaos Island, and it's... So we're zipping around Chaos Island, and it's running at 60 FPS sharp, which is way past cool. So I'm going like really fast, right? I can see why there's an option to limit the speed in the game now. I'ma beat up this guy real quick. Just gotta go and do the runaround. Let me try that again. There we go. Well, I can't really complain about the performance here, so let's jump into cyberspace. Sonic sure is fast. As I expected, it performs just fine. If it performed well in the open zone, it'd probably perform better here. It would still be nice if this game had an unlocked frame rate, but whatever. I used a new Battle Rush mode to access the game's bosses. While chasing Squid, it somehow managed to sustain perfect performance from start to end of this fight. Nice! We will to fight the knight. I forgot to reset Afterburner, but it seems like the game has no problem sustaining 60 frames here. Throughout this fight, cutscenes cap the game's frame rate to 30. While they're cool to look at, the way they're implemented kinda ruins the flow of the fight, but whatever. This card seems like a great match for my Sonic motherboard compared to my RK770, which was struggling with this game even at 1080p, probably because of drivers. Oh well. Elden Ring is still relevant because it doesn't suck, but it caps at 60. We'll play at max preset settings. I went to the forest area I like to benchmark at. It seems like the performance isn't as clean as I would have liked. It's hovering a little below 60 frames, but it's staying above 50, and it's not really stuttering very much. I switched to high settings, and the performance is more ideal now, as we're averaging at 60 FPS. Very good. So Elden Ring's got an option to turn on ray tracing. We gotta try it out. Here's max ray tracing with max settings. As you can see, the performance is not smooth at all. We're dragging under 30 now. It's starting to feel like I'm playing on a console. Ew, gross. Let's try low settings with low ray tracing. So at first, we're above 30 this time, so this would be good. But then we go into the forest, and it tries to hold on to 30 FPS, but unfortunately, it dips under. Well, considering this isn't an RTX GPU, I guess it's doing better than I expected. You're probably better off without ray tracing though, as the performance is like, way better. I think this game doesn't perform too bad with max settings, since it's smooth in areas like the swamp. But personally, I'd play with high settings since there doesn't seem to be much of a performance hit in areas like the forest. We're going straight to hell in Diablo IV. It seems to cap at 400 FPS, which is way better than a 60 cap. We're playing on ultra settings. I treaded my way to this area and decided to run some laps testing out a few graphic settings. Without an upscaler, we're averaging in the 80s in this area, which is already pretty decent. With FSR2 quality, we're now averaging above 100 FPS, and our percent lows are over 60 here. Nice! FSR2 Ultra Performance lets it jump into the 160s, and it even went as high as 180, but what if we can go even further beyond? Well, we definitely can with Ultra Performance on low settings. Now we're in the 240s. With all these unnecessary frames, it feels like we're playing on a computer. Honestly though, I think it's fine to play without an upscaler, but maybe if you get grossed out by 59 FPS, you could always flip on FSR2. Oh jeez. These enemies just keep on coming, huh? I'd be real dead right now if the difficulty was higher. This game's using almost 10 gigabytes of VRAM. It's nearing my 3080's VRAM limit. It sure is a good thing this isn't the 3080. I wasn't really a PC gamer in the 2000s, so I never played Diablo 1 and 2, and I never played 3, but I heard that this game is as good as Diablo 2, except it's a $70 game with microtransactions, battle passes, always online DRM, and it had $100 paid early access. Oh shoot, I guess we really are in hell. We're gonna try Star Wars Jedi Survivor, but this time, we'll start with low preset settings, with no upscaler or ray tracing. I progressed to this area to do our benchmark, so we're running and jumping around like a Jedi would, and we're averaging around 40 FPS, and it hasn't dipped below 30. This would be good, but remember, this is on low settings, so this actually sucks. If you compare this game to other current gen games on low settings, this is just all wrong. I mean, I feel like even on the 6800 and 4K, low settings really should be performing better than this without an upscaler here. This is just gross. We'll try native epic settings next. So, we end up averaging around 30 frames, but we often go under 30 here. Though, it's only about 10 frames average under low settings average. Maybe FSR2 will bring us much better performance on epic settings. After testing out some FSR2 settings, I think the force is with us in performance mode. We didn't go under 60, and we're averaging in the 70s. The percent lows seem to stay close to 60 FPS, which I think is pretty good in this case. But what about ray tracing? Well, what about it? Even before ray tracing, it struggles to get ideal frame rates without FSR2. But if you still want to know, FSR2 quality seems to average within the 40s, and hasn't dropped under 30 here. In ultra performance can average at around 60, but the frame rate can drop under 60 FPS. So, the game's playable, but if you want to survive, you're gonna have to use FSR2 to average within the 30s and up, which honestly is pretty lame. I heard that on the game's release. The 4090 with better CPUs were struggling with max settings. Seems the game really needed more time for optimization, huh? The last game we'll play is the train game, Honkai Star Rail. So the game caps at 60 max, and just like Genshin, the Apple version can go up to 120 frames. Why? We're in a space train, and we're running in the space train, and we're averaging at 59 FPS. Wait, that's not 60. Oh god, stop the train! So we're in the middle of Diablo 6. It's still averaging at 59 FPS. The percent lows look alright, but then the game occasionally stutters, and the 0.1% low gets wrecked. I tried running around this same map like 20 times, but I guess even that wasn't enough to grind all that shader cache, huh? I'ma beat up these enemies real quick and fast forward. The game can still stutter, but it doesn't seem to hit the 0.1% low as much as running around the map. Check out that oinker. I set the resolution to the holy 640 by 480 at lowest settings, and it still can't average at 60. I'm not even doing anything, and it still stutters. I switched back to very high settings. The other settings don't seem to perform better anyway. And we're gonna fight this boss. We're gonna nip him up. Ow! It's still averaging at 59 FPS, but something I noticed here is that there wasn't too much stuttering in this fight. Using fast-paced flashy ultimates like this, it doesn't look like it hits the performance much either. That's cool. In Phase 2, I upped the dial on speed and turned on auto battle. Realistically, you'll be using them a lot in this game. The performance is similar to normal speed, so that's good. So the game performs relatively well. The occasional stutters could be annoying, though it's not really game-breaking, and you may not even care. I think you can go ahead and play with whatever graphic settings you want.
This is double speed.
So for the 4K experience, the 6800 may not be the best graphics card. Still, I think it's pretty good for what it is. It's capable of playing many games at native resolution, but games like Jedi Survivor needs FSR to even attempt to get good frame rates. When you compare this card to the RTX 3080, the 6800 has worse rasterization, but thanks to its 16GB of VRAM, it's able to stay relevant in today's high-end gaming scene, as well as the 6800 XT, where the 3080 may struggle with its 10 gigabytes. The 6800 seems pretty power efficient for its performance, especially compared to my 3080. It also does great with keeping itself cool. Maybe one day, I'll try overclocking it. In the US, this card was priced originally at $580 bucks, but it's 2023 now, so you might be able to get this for sub 500 new or used. Although if the 6800 XT can be gotten for a similar price, it might be the better pickup. You know, I would have loved to get an RTX 4080 as my 16GB card, but it's such a huge upsell compared to the 3080. It's 1100 plus bucks at MSRP, and it's not even a TI. It still is as of this video. I would rather not pay that much for it. And for all I know, cards at ridiculous prices may not even be worth it anyway if these games keep coming out unoptimized. You could also not play unoptimized games, or bad games in general. That would be a very big brain move. So what do you think about the Radeon RX 6800? Do you want an RX 6800? Do you think it's a good card for 4K gaming? Or maybe you'd rather use it for 1440p? Would you prefer getting the 6800 XT? Or maybe you're the 4090 Ti kind of person? Do you think the 6800 pairs well with my Sonic computer? Let me know in the comments. So thanks for watching this video. Having a Sonic computer is way past cool. Imagine if the graphics card was blue. That would be very nice. If you like this video, or you happen to find it useful in some way, consider hitting the like button and subscribing. And don't forget to share the video. With the power of cute and funny technology, I can become best girl. Yep, that should be everything. Bye!